Podcasts. Pretty sure that you've heard this phrase repeatedly over a period of time now. And if you don't know already, you're most probably wondering, okay, we've got YouTube, we've got Spotify, we've got all of these other social media apps. Now, who is this new guy in town? Additionally, you might have thought of, why do people talk alone in it? Well, the answer is yes. And the answer is yes to all of the questions that I just posed. Now, since we as Indians have this tendency of being polite and gracious and respectful on all our media platforms.
You hear me? Then I'll tell you why.
No,
Can I tell you why?
Well, Saif, before I say bye to you, I think our viewers would like another glimpse of Taimur. Is it possible to get him, if he can say, give a flying kiss to our viewers or just say bye to them? Maybe it'll cheer them up on day one of the lockdown?
That's not how you do things in this country. Where are the gossips? Where are the fights? Where are the controversial moments? And we decided mainstream news media is too nice. We'll start our own thing and we will give ourselves all of those things that we want. According to the Economic Times, in 2017, India had a monthly download of podcasts of 300 million. But fast forward to 2 years, by the end of 2019, we are getting 300 million additional downloads. Now, the only thing that spreads as fast as that is the coronavirus and your gossip about a celebrity's death. So, this brings forth obvious questions like, why are Indians jumping on the podcast bandwagon all of a sudden? What are the opportunities that the medium offers? How can you as a creator, as a normal person, as a celebrity, as a journalist, as a politician benefit from this medium? We will look at some of those answers in this video and let's just jump right in. Now, if you are even a remote follower of the YouTube scene in India, you already know that the popular comedians have already started their podcasts on YouTube. Now, this might be obvious, but YouTube is not the correct medium to do podcasts on. But since we are not accustomed to the culture of Spotify's and the JioSavans and the Wings as of yet as much as we should be, these comedians are hosting it on YouTube, which is where their target audience is. And YouTubers make money in two ways. One is their brand deals, which is irrelevant for this video, and their ad revenue, which is the ad that plays in the video that you see. Now, since podcasts are meant to be conversations that are long, the more the ad revenue they get, the higher the engagement, and the more YouTube will market it to people, and the more the increase in follower count, and the more the money they make. So this is pretty straightforward, simple, not a big deal, piece of cake. Now, did you know that 76% of your apps on your phone are competing for your attention? So what that means is, while these apps are coming at you with all guns blazing, and our attention spans are down here, and you can use only one app at a time, are you starting to see a problem here? But that's where podcasts can step in as your passive app. It's a great way to keep things in the background while you're escaping the competition from this 76%. It's a great way to be educated, entertained, while you're doing something else like your household chores, working out, driving. Now, there's this wrong misconceived notion that a podcast is a staged interview where people prepare questions beforehand. And that can be true, and those podcasts exist. But it's more of like a conversation where you study what your guest has been doing for a period of time, and you just talk about it. There are no questions. You can have your say on things. Your guest can have a say on things. So it's sort of like you sitting with your friend and having a chat. That's basically it. And the most important part of a podcast is that it's not time bound by 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something like that. So a great example of this is when Joker released a few months ago. I was watching through a few junkets by these two very thought-provoking and very interesting American journalists. They asked the best questions. I'll link their handles down in the description below. Now, during these junkets, they're most often given a time of 7 to 8 minutes to sweep in a conversation. And while they were interviewing Joaquin Phoenix, the questions were all brilliant, but the answers were short, minuscule, and it basically almost looked like Joaquin wasn't interested. Now, I discovered later that these journalists have their own podcasts, and they had Joaquin Phoenix, the same actor who acted in Joker, as their guests. The conversation was similar, but the answers that Joaquin Phoenix gave, it was more vibrant, it was more detailed, it was more engaging, and you just felt that energy and vibe from Phoenix, which the junket wasn't able to do. So I won't spoil anything for you. I'll link the podcast down below. You can have a listen on your own if you're a film fan. But what I took from this is that if you were to give me a couple of minutes to answer a question that you asked, I would stutter. I would just like this. I would stutter. I would eat my own words. I won't have any clarity of thought. So basically those issues happen. But if you make me sit down, have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and, you know, let me explore my own thoughts and answers, especially for an extrovert like me.
இவர்தான் நேதாஜி சுபாஷ் சந்திர போஸ். இந்தியாவுக்கு 1947ல சுதந்திரம் அடைஞ்சது இல்லையா? அதுல நிறைய பேர் சுதந்திரம் வாங்க பாடுபட்டாங்க. பாடுபட்டவங்கள இவரும் ஒருத்தர். ஓகே, இதே மாதிரி இங்கிலாந்துல ஒருத்தர் வந்து
Podcasting might be new to India, but its concept, its base idea is definitely not. It comes from radio, and as much as this is hard to believe, radio is still relevant today. But the only problem I have with radio is that these radio jockeys are not allowed to talk about sensitive issues like politics, religion, sex education and stuff like that. It's most often because either these radio companies are owned by political parties, or these radio stations are being used by these political parties to run their ad campaigns. Social media run by politicians. Trump basically won the US election because of this. News and TV, it's controlled by political parties. Newspapers are being backed by political parties. Magazines are being backed by political parties. So, are you seeing the bigger picture here? This is like giving your toddler brother the remote to your PlayStation and asking him to play without connecting the socket. And yes, he's clicking the buttons, and yes, he thinks he's playing, but at the end of the day, he's not making an impact on the game. So pretty much at all times, you're being narrated a narrative from mediums that are either owned by parties or either endorsed by parties. So over the years, especially in India, there has been this demand for unfiltered, raw and honest conversations, and that's where the beauty of podcasting comes in. You can be your own brand, you can voice your own opinions, complete freedom of speech, and you can get your news from someone you like who isn't particularly affiliated with any party or any endorsements. Now, I firmly believe that the concept of podcasting is not where it should be in India right now, is because of the lack of marketing. Now, if you take people between aged 18 to 30, they know what a podcast is. You don't have to target them in your marketing. That's fine. But if you go beyond 35 to say, let's say 60, these are people who are discovering Facebook today. These are people who are exploring features like WhatsApp today. The concept of Instagramming is new to them. So for you to go and introduce another concept which is supposedly new to them isn't a smart strategy. So what you do is you take something that existed in their time, which is the radio. So you market podcasts as an improved version of radio, a version where you can listen to whoever you want to. You can listen to how much ever time you want to. You can go back, you can play back, you can fast forward. So if you take something that already existed and that is already familiar and add just a little bit of new touch to it, then I think the results will come and the culture of podcasting will become more and more relevant and important in this country. Now, I get that everything comes down to the money, and there are not as much as brands that have invested in the concept of podcasting. Now, a giant reason on why cricket is as big as it is today is not just because people watch it, people like it, but it's also because a lot of brands have invested in the sport, because there is scope for advertising. After each over, there's at least a 1.5 minute period where advertisers can roll off their products, and this frequency of advertising is not prevalent in other sports as advertisers would like. Now, my point is that podcasting is a way better approach to advertise your products, because now let's say you're watching a YouTube video, you have your thumb ready to skip the ad. Let's say you're watching a game on television, you switch channels and you go to something else until the program returns. Now let's say you're using an app and a pop-up ad pops up. you don't even look at the ad and you click X. So every possible medium of advertising is tough for brands to reach people. Influencer and meme-based marketing advertising is working today, but besides that, I don't see any other medium being leveraged by advertisers. Now, the thing with podcasts is that you don't divert your entire 100% attention to the podcast you're listening to, do you? It's most often listened to while you're multitasking and while you're driving and while you're working out, while you're doing your chores, while you are you name it. So if I am working out and I'm in the middle of my set and my phone is in my pocket, or in the case of a Bluetooth headset, my phone is lying somewhere else, I'm not going to let an ad interrupt my rep or interrupt my set. I would 100% listen to the ad, or if not listen, I would at least try and keep the workout going and not interrupt it, even though there's an ad playing in my ears. Now what this happens is, over a period of time, after listening to the same ad 5 or 10 times, the content of the ad is going to subconsciously get planted in my head, and from there, based on the ad I listen to, if I require a product or a service which relates to the ad I listen to, guess where my mind is going to go?